Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another AITA story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for charging my 16-year-old nephew rent to live with me? In February, my 16-year-old nephew moved out of my younger sister's home and came to live with me. My sister has 4 other kids with my nephew's stepdad. The oldest is 8 and the youngest is just a few months. My nephew and his stepdad both hate each other. My nephew had been couch surfing with friends on and off for a few months before he moved in with me. My roommate moved out at the end of last year and I can afford the rent without him now, so wasn't planning on having someone else move in. My nephew has a job and works around 20 hours a week. When I offered him a place to stay, it was on the condition that he pays me 10% of his weekly paycheck. His mom knows that I'm taking part of his earnings as rent and has no problem with it. However, my older sister, not his mom, found out that I was charging him rent to live with me and thinks I'm an asshole. She says because he's still 16, nobody should be charging him for rent. I disagree, as he has a bedroom he can sleep in free of charge and where he can get all of his food free of charge. He is choosing not to live there. He is choosing to live with me even though he knew up front he would have to pay rent. I don't have any kind of custody and I'm not his legal guardian. His mom still is. My sister argues because I can afford to house and feed him, etc. That means I'm charging him for no reason. I can afford it but not comfortably as my grocery bill has doubled and electric has gone up. And he should be saving or spending that money on himself. She also thinks he's not really choosing to live with me but rather choosing to live somewhere he feels safe, which is not with his stepdad, and that I'm making him pay for something he has a right to. This point makes me question myself, as I somewhat agree. I know he would rather be living with his mom because they are very close, but living with his stepdad has become too hard for him. He would probably live anywhere else right now. I am also the only relative that lives in the same town as his mom, so even if my older sister would happily let him live with her, she lives too far away. I'm his only alternative option that isn't his friends' houses. Am I the asshole? This is a messy situation. Clearly, stepdad's an asshole. Mom letting it get to the point where he would rather leave than making the home safe for him is an asshole. OP, here's the problem. OP has the means and wasn't planning on taking a roommate on, so this is a room that would have otherwise stayed empty or been like a home office or a workout room or a guest room or something. With that being the case, she might be the asshole. If she said, I planned on keeping this room available to have someone else move in, blah, 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 or had some other plans, then that would insulate her from it a little bit and she wouldn't be, then it would be at least receiving something for the opportunity cost that exists there. But she wasn't planning on taking a roommate on. She does have increased costs. She's providing food, she's providing utilities, and she did see increased costs there. It would make much more sense for his mom to be paying that than him, but it was his choice to not stay there. But he's 16. Does he have that choice? I mean, when it comes to like his mom could, I don't know. This is difficult. I do really foresee though that if this stepdad has as much of a problem with this kid as the story says that he does, he's going to put up roadblocks to make sure that no funds come that direction at all to help him out. He's going to put up the fight that this was his choice and he can figure it out on his own. He is working too. So, I mean, would it make a difference if he was 18? If he was 18, how would this story be different? I think people's viewpoints on whether it's okay for him to pay for it or not would change if he were 18 versus 16. But the sister has 4 other kids with stepdad. Oldest is 8 and the youngest is just a few months old. So 4 kids. So I'm sure she feels trapped by this situation, feels like she can't do anything. So her 16-year-old kid, which was from a previous relationship, was the stepkid to this stepdad, and they hate each other and he ended up leaving. So the condition of him coming to stay with OP in the first place was that he paid 10% of the weekly paycheck, which does provide a good lesson in learning to be independent. And whenever he does become 18 or starts living on his own, it's going to be a lot more than that. So it's at least getting used to paying something. I think we probably all agree that he shouldn't have to pay. Mom should be paying. There's no way that stepdad is going to allow that to happen, even if she had the means to do it. So knowing that the only option here is to have him pay that, does that make sense? Now, something that Candy Thunder pointed out here was that having him pay that money in would be good for him to learn. It's a good lesson for him to learn as he goes, that it's not just everything on your paycheck is yours to blow on whatever you want, go buy those sneakers and then be broke, which is the typical 16-year-old kid thing to do when they have a job, right? Getting used to paying something with every check is a really good thing to get used to. However, if OP saved that money and gave it back to him when he's 18 for college, that would accomplish everything. That That would check all the boxes. OP wouldn't be getting compensation for the increase in utilities and food costs that she's taking on, so that sucks. And this lesson makes her feel the pain for that, so she essentially becomes the functional parent in that case. But it would be a really great thing for this kid to have the lesson of learning and still have some funds that he could use to put toward college whenever he does turn 18. Mom and stepdad are hardcore ASCON 1s here. I think we can go ahead and pull that animation up here. Allowing this to happen, allowing him to get to this point, not offering to facilitate it at all, not providing a safe environment for him, garbage. ASCON 1. Where does OP belong here? Is OP an asshole for making him pay this 10% to recoup the increase in utilities and food costs? Yeah, let's take a look at the scale. Let's think here. Let's all stroke our beards as we ponder where OP should land here, if at all. As a reminder, the ASCON scale is modeled after the U.S. military's DEFCON scale. So ASCON 1 is the worst, ASCON 4 is the least severe asshole. ASCON 4 is you could have done it differently, ASCON 3 is you should have done it differently, ASCON 2 is you definitely shouldn't have done that, and ASCON 1 is you're a terrible human. So does OP belong on here at all? Could have done it differently? Maybe that's where we're at, because there are other options to where it could be done differently here. Maybe the conversation is the agreement up front if he comes to stay there is with mom or with mom and stepdad. And you know what? If stepdad dislikes him that much, he may be willing to pay whatever that 10% is or whatever the small fee is weekly to get him out of the house. But CPS probably needs to get involved if he doesn't have a safe environment at home. There's something more going on there that needs to be stabilized and safe for him, and that is why his mom and stepdad are on ASCON 1 here. OP could have done this differently by either seeking to make that arrangement with them or by getting authorities involved or by just being a safe place for him to be the one anchor that he has in life that can be there for him and not charge him to do it. That would probably be what he ultimately needs, because it sounds like he doesn't have that at all. He doesn't have a person. He doesn't have a place to go. He doesn't have a safe space that is his. It is not her responsibility to provide that, though. That's where this gets tricky, is that if she is willing to be that person for him, then she shouldn't be charging him for it. If she's not willing to be that person for him, then charging him for it at least prepares him for the outside world. So I think let's land here on ASCON 4 because it's something that could be done differently. Let's say, there we go. This could have been done differently because it's a really fucked up situation. There were a lot of other options here that didn't involve charging him rent. Or if she does, it can be put aside so that he's got something later on to put toward college or some kind of savings plan or something. But this kid has nobody in his corner right now. And charging him for it makes OP a little less in his corner, if that makes sense. It's not her responsibility to do it, but if she's letting him stay there, she's the closest thing that he's got to a safe space and a parent right now. And for a 16-year-old, having that person in your corner would be a huge deal. So she could have done this differently by choosing to be that person and not charging him for it and letting him be 16. Grain of salt with all of this, because it sounds like he's going to be on his own soon. It sounds like once he's 18, he's not going to have support from his mom or from his stepdad. He's going to be forced to make his own way, and that sucks for him. So OP has a chance here to be that anchor for him, which kids need as they're entering that point in life, and so many kids don't have, and that's where bad choices are made. So this could have been done differently. If she is an asshole, she is the least severe kind of asshole there is, because there are other options. But this kid is in a shit situation and really needs someone in his corner. Woof.